Thank you very much. We will now proceed to 5-minute rounds of questions. I'll ask the first round, followed by Senator Heinrich, and then we'll alternate between Republicans and Democrats after that in just a moment. All right. Mr. Erdos, I'd like to start with you, if that's all right. Last time you were before this committee, and that was regarding your nomination to be the director of the Office of Surface Mining, Reclamation and Enforcement. I asked you about permitting deadlines for coal mines, and at that point, this was in 2019, you said you were looking to reduce the timelines for permitting from 6 to 10 years down to 2 or less years. This would be a really welcome set of news if we could do that, including and especially for mines in Utah, some of which have spent literally decades in a sort of permitting purgatory process. So why is certainty, in your opinion, so important when it comes to the permitting process, especially for mines, for miners?
Well, certainly predictability is something the industry has to have. They have to know how to get from point A to point B. And permitting has been an issue. So I think we're talking about NEPA reviews on coal, on federal coal. And that's what I was referring to back in 2019. So I think obviously progress has been made over the last 2 to 3 months. 2 or 3 have been, OSM has approved the EIS and the record of decision. So the short answer is predictability. The industry needs predictability, and the way you get that is, the way you achieve that is by a permitting system that functions for everyone. It functions for the states, it functions for the federal government, and for the operator.
Thank you. Mr. Walsh, the Department of Energy currently holds about 30 metric tons of defense plutonium that it plans to dilute and then dispose of at the WIPP facility in New Mexico. This strategy is projected to take over 30 years and to cost about $20 billion. Now think about it, we're spending $20 billion to dispose of this valuable asset that was produced at taxpayer expense. I don't know what the exact figures are, but I'm willing to guess that in present day dollars, it cost tens of billions of dollars to create it. One of President Trump's recent executive orders directs the department to end the dilute and dispose strategy and establish a program to process the plutonium into a form that can be fabricated into fuel for advanced nuclear reactors. This would allow the plutonium to be used as a resource to advance nuclear technology leadership in the world while still accomplishing our non-proliferation objectives, which I think were part of what they had in mind when they started this program. Do you agree that the surplus plutonium should be used to support the commercial nuclear industry? And if confirmed, will you work with the Secretary and with NNSA to end the dilute and dispose program and carry out President Trump's executive order?
Yes, I will. As I understand it, plutonium can be mixed with other materials so that it isn't essentially to proliferation proof it. And as you know, to fuel the future of AI so America can be a leader with the data centers located here, we need energy from every source, and small modular reactors and all nuclear reactors for that matter, their limiting factor right now is fuel, enriched uranium, which we're not doing here in the United States, and I think it ends in 2028. So we need to bring all dense energy sources like plutonium, and I believe the NSA is also working on a program right now where we can use that.
Thank you. Mr. Eisner, the past administration relied on the Department of Energy's International Affairs Office to broker deals on climate cooperation and the development of more expensive and unreliable energy resources. If confirmed, how do you plan to reorient the office to focus on American energy dominance and energy security for our allies?
Mr. Chairman, as I stated in my opening remarks, it was an honor for me to serve at the U.S. Department of Treasury in the previous Trump administration. In that role, I had the honor to work with several career federal employees, and two of whom are here with me today. Two things that I think really marked my experience with these individuals was their patriotism and their respect that elections have consequences. Despite what I was sure was a very wide range of political views among those whom I worked with, we operated under a very basic understanding that the work that we were doing was not red and it wasn't blue. It was red, white, and blue. And using that approach to motivate the people who worked with me, because at the end of the day, it really does come down to leadership, we were able to effectuate the policies and the programs of the previous Trump administration without flaw, I would say.
Thank you. And finally, Ms. Robertson, as geothermal technology has continued to advance, energy analysts have become increasingly bullish and appropriately very excited about its viability to supply sustained power. As I'm sure you're aware, I introduced bipartisan legislation with Ranking Member Heinrich to accelerate the adoption of geothermal technology. I included provisions of that legislation in the energy title of the One Big Beautiful Bill, but unfortunately, my Democrat colleagues used the Byrd rule to strip those provisions out of that bill, so those weren't able to make it into law, even though they could have under that circumstance. Nonetheless, given the circumstances, we've got to continue to focus on finding ways to develop this energy resource. Will you commit, if confirmed, to assisting the Secretary to ensure that product classes are used to protect features? I'm sorry, I've blended two different questions there. What can you tell us about the importance of geothermal energy, and what can we do from a legal and regulatory standpoint to help advance that technology?
Thank you, Chairman Lee, for that question. Geothermal is undoubtedly one of the most exciting resources that can create stable baseload power in this country. Between the three geothermal powerhouses are right in front of me, with Utah, Nevada, and New Mexico really leading the way. Geothermal is so exciting and rightly a focus of both Secretary Wright and President Trump, because unlike many other non-fossil-based energy sources, geothermal has the potential to provide stable baseload power, which as we look at the power demands in the United States over the next 5, 10, and 20 years, we are in a situation we haven't been in as a country before. We've had relatively stable electricity demand over the years, relatively stable and increasing, obviously, power demands. But with the development of supercomputers and AI, we need to drastically, significantly ramp up our baseload power, and geothermal provides one of the most exciting avenues to do that. I'm sure Senator Heinrich's very familiar with the XGS Energy and Meta project in New Mexico that was announced. This is new geothermal technology. This is that particular project's pipe-on-pipe technology that is free from using additional water in the process. You know, programs like those and many of the others being developed at national labs across the country are going to be a more sustainable solution to step function changes in how we deliver power.
Great. Thank you very much. Senator Heinrich.